Hey, what's up? It's Flux with fluxwithit.com, and today I'm here to show you basically a crash course on Eurorack modular synthesis. How to get into it, what's involved, and here's my Eurorack right here. Now, Eurorack synthesizers are synthesizers that essentially you can put together in your own fashion. So they can be everything from a drum machine to an effects box to, you know, a straight mono synth all the way up to a poly synth. You know, depending on what you're doing with it, you can kind of have the freedom to make it whatever you want. If you want to emulate older vintage analog synthesizers, you can do that. If you want to make them crazy wavetable synthesis setups, you can do that as well. So a Eurorack system is essentially made up of individual modules. Those modules, the width of them is called HP, horizontal pitch. Now you'll see on a Eurorack, I have multiple modules in here. This case is 9U in height. Each Eurorack module is 3U high. Now these rack units, okay, that's 3U, each one of these. Okay, so that's 9U total. You have a power supply. Now, a lot of cases you can get power supplies that are built in. If you don't have a power supply built in, you can buy standalone cases. These are called Micro Zeus or U-Zeus, and it's just its own little module. It has what's called a flying bus board on it. I'll put a picture of it right here. So a flying bus board is just a way of having the power distributed through the Eurorack modular. Now sometimes that power cable also will do things like send additional CV or control voltage out to other modules. Now the majority of these don't use MIDI. It's going to use control voltage. There are MIDI modules that will allow you to translate MIDI messages into control voltage, but for the most part we want to focus on control voltage. The normal standard is 1 volt per octave. Most analog synthesizers that are coming out today are using the 1 volt per octave standard. There are a few exceptions, such as the Korg MS-20 or Mini MS-20 also, and essentially what that is that's a way of sending direct current to tell a module what to do, be it pitch, be it gates. Gates are like on-off signals essentially, triggers to tell a module when to come on or off. Now the case can be anything you want. The case really isn't, you're not limited in just any one brand of casing. You can use everything from Dope cases, Pittsburgh modular cases. This right here is a J9K case, very, very affordable case. Runs about, I think about $250. So this is one of the most affordable cases in that size that you're gonna see. And you can go all the way up to very nice fancy wooden cases and other things. But realistically speaking, if you wanted to, you don't even need a case. If you wanted to, you could just, you know, take a shoebox, cut a shoebox out to the proper dimension holes, and stick a Micro Zeus in there and be good to go. Of course, you want to be careful about the heat, but the case is literally just that. It's just something to hold your modules in place, okay? I've seen people make cases out of Tupperware and lunch boxes. I've seen them make them out of bento boxes and everything else. So don't get too hung up on what your case is necessarily made of. Of course, a nicer case is, you know, going to be a nice luxury to have. And if you're traveling or doing shows and you want to bring your modular, you might want something a bit more substantial. Also, with the Eurorack system, you're going to want to pick up cables. These cables are nothing, you know, nothing very special. They're just 3.5 millimeter, or in America, 1/8 inch plugs. And I'll hold this up so that you can kind of see it. It's just an 1/8 inch jack, normal 1/8 inch jack, nothing special at all. Okay, and there's lots of different brands out there that you can get. You can get name brand ones, you can get just Bobo brand. It doesn't really matter. and the voltage is going to go through these audio cables and, you know, control the modules or send the audio out to each other. Some of the basic modules that you're going to need are going to be things like oscillators. Oscillators are what are essentially going to be making your sound. You're going to need envelopes or envelope generators. That's essentially what's going to control slope and rising and falling of your modules. You're going to want a VCA, which is a voltage controlled amplifier. So you're going to use a mixer, filter, you know, the standard building blocks of any synthesizer. Of course, with Eurorack, there is a large variety of modules you might not be familiar with if you're only familiar with using things like monosynths or polysynths. Things like functions and logic are something that you might not be familiar with. Certainly, I recommend checking out groups like muffwiggler.com and learning a little bit about those modules. Each one has its own different function. For instance, the quad comparator I just did a video on, that's a module that's essentially going to allow you to take one input, and depending on where the threshold is set, it's going to say on or off, and at different points. These are modules that you might not think about inside of a monosynth, but oftentimes are incorporated, you know, on a monosynth or on a polysynth. You just don't see it on the front panel. So you have things like random voltage generators or sequencers. Basically anything that you can think of is in Eurorack format. So I'm going to do a whole series of videos talking about the individual elements of the Eurorack, and again, I'll have that article up on fluxwithit.com. If you have any questions about getting into Eurorack or synthesis in general, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. You can contact us at the Producer Hangout group on Facebook. I'll put a link in the description there. Also my website, fluxwithit.com. So anyway, fluxwithit.com. Peace.